Hi, TJ. Good evening. Thank you
Good
so much for
evening.
joining today on this episode of Careers in Accounting. I'm going to start by reading your bio and then we'll get into the conversation. So, you guys
Okay.
permit me, I'm reading from my phone. So, Tijesunimi Arewa is a people and culture leader, HR strategist, and policy advocate with over 14 years of experience across technology, financial services, and non-profits. She's currently head of people and culture at an African insure-tech company where she drives culture, performance, and organizational effectiveness with academic training from University of Hertfordshire, Covenant University, and Harvard Business School Executive Education. Tijesunimi is passionate about education reform, youth development, and policy driven nation building across Africa. She's an alumnus of the Unconventional School of Policy, Politics, and Governance, and a leading voice on leadership, human capital development, and national transformation. Thank you again, TJ. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure to have you. So this is your bio. I thought we all I thought we all planned to be accountants. Why am I seeing policy and governance? How did you get there? So I guess
That's
that
the,
takes me to my first question.
okay.
Tell us about your career journey. You studied accounting. So how did you get here? We want to hear it
Right.
all.
Fantastic. So, thank you again. I'm so happy to be here. It's always a privilege to share my story. Yes, I studied accounting. We plan to be accountants, but I actually didn't want to do accounting. So let me give you a backstory. My dad is a medical doctor, right? And so science was like life for him. Everything outside of science is nonsense. So in SS2, SS1, I was in science class, but I was struggling so badly. And I had to switch. And I switched without him knowing. So I switched in SS2 second term. Just imagine. SS2 second term, I switched to commercial class. And he was so furious, but there was nothing he could do. I'd already switched because I was struggling with physics. I was just struggling with those science courses. And so I felt like I've escaped this man, not knowing that he was going to be in charge of my career. I was like, okay, if you're not going to do this, then you're going to do accounting because accounting was the next best thing in his own opinion. And anyway, that's how I got into accounting. So when it was time to come to uni, it had to be accounting, no problem. So I kind of did the accounting for my dad. And to be honest, I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't something that was second nature to me. It was something that you have to. So, when I used to see you guys in class, I'm like, these people really like this thing. This thing is boring. So yes, I did enjoy it. I really just wanted to do my best to graduate. So yes, so that's how I came into accounting. So now to my career journey. I don't know if you remember, like in our final year, there was this course we did that we had to do some case studies, and we had to everybody had to like head a team, so head of HR or something. I can't
Mm,
remember the case study. I don't know if you remember, and you can I can never forget because that's the first time I heard of human resources.
wow.
So everybody had picked a team. I think the last one was HR, and I just picked it. I'm like, what's HR? And I started to read about it. It was really interesting to me, and that's where my love for HR started. And I never worked as an accountant in my life.
Wow.
So NYC, I was admin something. Then my first real job was PA and HR admin, something like that. And from there, my career started. So yes, that's how I got into human resources.
Very interesting. And I think that there will be people who can relate with your story. I mean, for
Mm,
some of us, we wanted to be accountants right from our mother's womb. And some people like you just had to do it because that was the next best thing. I
yeah.
guess one of the things I'm taking from your story is how the different extracurriculars that we do, even in school, can lead us to our career path because it was I think I'm starting to remember a little bit. I know we used to do like all those simulations and
Yeah.
all. it was just participating in that role that got you excited about the career path that you are
Yes.
now in. But
Yes.
what attracted you? You've told me how you got into that path, but and what
Hmm.
made you stay and say, I think this is what I want to do? Because you said in your story that your dad wanted you to go into the sciences, and because you weren't comfortable there, the next best thing was to go the accounting route, and then you found your way into HR. So what happened in that space that made you say, like, okay, I think this is where I want to pitch my tent?
Oh, that's a good question. I think for me, I realized that people are important to organizational success. No matter the other resource you have, people are the ones that will make it work. And if I'm in a position where I can lead people, influence people, train people, develop people, just for the organization to succeed, it's just amazing. I think it's the best job ever, although it's a thankless job. I've come to realize because HR is often the enemy, but that remains my mindset that people will help organizations succeed. And if I am able to do my job very well and influence the people the right way, then we can all achieve our goals at the end of the day. So that was what made me stay. The other thing that made me stay is that people are interesting. And I feel like I have my way with people. I found, and I'm still finding, that people are very interesting, dynamic. But there's a way you can influence the right way. Is it going to be easy? No, it won't be. Definitely not. But just seeing people um, as being able to just help organizations succeed. Then the other thing that also made me stay is when I see people actually grow and develop, it just gives me
Mm,
joy. There's this joy. When you meet an intern, just came out from uni, and 5 years down the line, they become manager. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So seeing all of these success stories, it gives me joy and it just makes it worthwhile as an as an HR professional. So yes, that's what made me stay. And as I grew in my career, I find out that strategic human resources I think, is an underutilized tool in the business
mm,
world. Very underutilized. And it might partly be the fault of HR professionals, lack of exposure, and being able to articulate the value we bring to the table, and being
yes.
able to show return on investment on us. They usually say HR is a cost center, but it's no longer a cost center. If you're an HR professional, you can articulate your value and you can have a seat at the big men's table. So yeah, that would be my answer to your question.
Thank you so much. I am really interested in your career journey because you
Hmm.
said, okay, let me take a step back. The reason why I started this series was because I used to see a lot of arguments on Twitter about how everybody wanted to go into Big Four. Everybody felt like they had to start their career in certain places to make it. And, as AI has evolved, people having concerns about the jobs AI is going to take away and what are we
Right.
now going to be doing. And I thought about, I had this idea just to showcase the fact that an accounting degree is a gateway into many other careers. So, my first question in this segment
Mhm.
is, how did you manage to? You studied as an accountant, right? All the courses you did were accounting, blah. And then
Yeah.
you started out as, you said, EA and HR admin. So how were you able to make that switch from a numbers mindset? Because I know
Right.
you graduated with a very good grade, and now to a people mindset. What were the key transformations that you
Hmm.
witnessed as you grew in your career?
That is interesting. Thank you for that. I studied a lot about the profession. I was voraciously reading. I
Mm,
would go to the library, 400 level. As we're studying for exams, I
wow.
would just do maybe 3 hours, finish accounting. I will just type human resources literally in Google. And I
Mm,
will read and read what is it. And then I realized there were specialties
mm,
and there's attracting talent, developing talent. I just started reading because
mm,
it had my interest. So I spent hours of my time and my life reading it. That's number one. Number two is accounting. I didn't lose it at the end of the day. It's not lost on me because one of the things you'll find as a senior HR person or even any HR person, if you're serious, is that you have to know the business of your business.
Right.
You have to know the business of your business. I thought that I didn't need accounting anymore. But when I got to school for my master's degree, and I'll backtrack to, of course, master's, one of the courses we studied was finance for non-finance managers.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. I don't need to go for class for this one. I have a BSc in accounting. I was so grateful because then I was teaching my colleagues and profit and loss, balance sheet. Like, no, this is child's play. So the numbers did not go completely, if you get what I mean. It's still
Yeah.
useful and I'm still using it today. I'm still able to take the account of an organization and read the balance sheet, read the profit and
Mm.
loss, understand what is happening in that business without anybody explaining it to me. So the
Right.
numbers are still there and you can't really lose it. But for me to be able to adapt to the HR mindset is it took some studying. Of course, I went for my master's. Master's helped me a lot. It exposed me internationally to the world of human resources. But before the master's, because I don't want us to really dwell on masters because some people they can't even afford to be able to do their
Yes.
masters right now. But you can sit with your phone instead of being on Instagram for 50 hours, you can study this thing. And as you said, AI has made information so decentralized. It's everywhere. You can go to CIPD, SHRM, all of these HR bodies and study human resources and know what it's about. And of course, we have Coursera, Udemy. They have free courses, Introduction to Human
Right.
Resources, to take you maybe 2 weeks to finish. And I can do several of those to expose yourself to the discipline. It's not just about human resources, anything you want to learn.
Yes.
It's so easy now. So
Mm.
it took me time to study, to understand it until it became my bread and butter, sort of. So, yes, intentional study.
Thank you so much for that. What I hear is you can be anything. You just need to put in the work required
Yes.
to get to where you want to be. And I
Yes.
liked that you talked about the fact that, wait a minute, the fact that I did like my masters does not mean like you have to have a masters in order to get into this profession. You can leverage the free resources that are available at your
Yeah.
fingertips and build on that as you go along the way. So take
Yeah.
us into your career growth. Like
Okay.
you said you started, because I was really interested in when you said you started as HR admin slash EA. Because I
Yes.
know EAs that are always feeling like, oh my God, am I stuck here forever? Is my work
Mm,
going to be EA forever? So take
mm,
us into that transition. How did you move through the ranks? And now you sit as head of people and culture for an insurance tech company in
mm.
Nigeria.
Uh, Thank you. First, I'd like to say that I struggled with not being in a big four. I'm going to say that now because I think it will help somebody. I felt very inadequate when I couldn't get into a big four. And I did try, by the way. Things just happened and it just didn't work out. And it did affect me for a while. But as I said, I had a goal was to become an HR person. And I just put my face like a flint and I focused on that. So the first job I was going to get was to be an EA. And I came in, I was the CEO's EA. And that really helped me in people management. Because
Hmm.
being a C, especially a small business, you're like chief of staff slash gatekeeper slash you wear so many hats. And that really gave me the right foundation. Would I have gotten that kind of raw experience in a big four? I'm not sure. I don't think so. I was exposed to so much at the same time with with little experience, but so it was
Hmm.
a sink or swim situation. And thankfully I swam. If not, I won't be here. So it's okay if you have that job that is paying you 50K or
Hmm.
70K or
Hmm.
80K. See, guys, it is okay. Just focus on the experience. The first 3 years of your life should be about growing and
Right.
learning and exposing yourself and taking whatever opportunity you have and really just making good use of it, right? So I did that EA job and I did it for just a year. Then I went for my master's. I worked in the UK after my master's. And when I got back, Aramide, I did not get a job.
Wow.
By the way, by the time I got back, all my friends that we graduated together that were in Big Four, I was like, "Ah, they've gone so far." So it was like I was starting again from scratch. And so the feeling came again, TJ,
Mm.
you're not doing well. You are backward. There's no, what do you want to do with your life? Everybody is now senior associate. LinkedIn, I used to avoid LinkedIn. I used to avoid LinkedIn. I know it's not even easy when your friends are really brilliant. So I was seeing everybody, I was like, oh my goodness, am I backward? And you won't be surprised. The first job I got, my first job when I came back from the UK was 70,000 naira.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, around 70. I can't forget.
Mm.
70K Lekki phase one. I
Oh my
pass
God.
the front of my old office every day I'm going to work now. I look at that place, I'm like, wow, 70K. But I took it. Now, I had opportunity to work at one of the big banks in Nigeria. That job was going to give me maybe 250K because I knew someone and I got a really good job offer. And it was going to be 250K. I remember I went for the interview, I got in, I did the test, I got in, and they gave me my contract. But I knew that that was not what I was going to do. I can't do customer service. So it was just not in line with what I wanted to do. So I got the offer and I called my friend who pulled all the stops for me. And I told him, I'm sorry, I can't do this job. He was so disappointed, but he understood. So I dropped to the 250K job. And then there was another opportunity to work in the accountant general's office in Abuja. One of my family friends made that happen as well. I traveled to Abuja. Oh, I really traveled to Abuja for the job. I did all of the processing. They were going to give me level. I can't remember what level, whatever, because I had a master's degree. Everybody was like, oh, your promotion will be rapid. But I knew in my heart, human resources was my passion. So I came back and I told my elderly family friends, I'm sorry, sir. I even slept in some presidential something when I went to Abuja. I told them I wasn't going to take the job. And then I ended up taking the 70K job because it
Mm.
was just it. So I worked in this consulting firm, very boutique consulting firm, doing everything, payroll services, outsourcing services, HR consulting, HR advisory. And that's when I started to grow. All the things I
Wow.
learned in school started to make sense. I started to use it. I remember I brought out my notebooks from school and I started to use it. And that was how my career just went. So from there, I did consulting for like a year and a half, got into the industry, was working as an partner from HR business partner in real estate. I moved into international development, worked for DFID for 6 years. That also solidified my experience and just solidified my career sort of. And then from there, I started to work with startups. I moved into tech. No, I didn't move into tech. I moved into international retail. I worked for Lacoste and Puma brand in Nigeria as HR manager. Then from there, moved to a fintech, and now I'm in an insure-tech. So I've remained in the tech space for a while. But my point is, one thing that I would like to say is, whatever opportunity you have, make good use of it. That's number one. If your passion remains in a particular job role or job family, um and you find something that is not so great, I feel like it's better than doing something with so much money that you don't have passion for. It's like you're moving fast in the wrong direction and it's
Yeah.
just going to hurt you more. Do you understand what I mean? So just stay there. Sometimes we do the jobs we don't want just to prepare for the jobs we want, and it's fine. It's okay. So if I didn't have this HR
Mm.
consulting job and I had the bank job, it's okay if that was what I had. It's okay, but then maybe I will be working on certifications. I'll be doing examinations for when
Mm.
the right opportunity comes my way. So I was able to just make good use of what I had. But one thing I would like to stress here is the mindset of comparison. You can't have that. You need to stay in your lane and believe that everything will work out at the end. But you need to stay in your lane. Yeah, I'd like to stop.
Wow. What a story, TJ. And there's so many lessons from there. The first lesson is yes, you wanted to get into Big Four, you didn't get into Big Four, but you started from what you could find that was tending towards what you wanted to do, and you built from there.
Yeah.
I really like the story you shared about not taking the customer service offer and also not taking the accountant general offer and really knowing what you want. I think a lot of young people, especially with the situation of the country, are blinded by, what the future could look like. There's so much
Right.
focus on how much are they paying, how much do they want to pay me. But you said something. You said you might have to take a job that you don't want to get the job that you want. Because the job that you don't want might give you the experiences that you need to get to where you're going.
Yes.
So I think that's a really big lesson for whoever is listening to say, like, focus on experience. I always say something. I always say money will always come. Money will
Mm.
always chase value. And so let your focus be on building value, because it's that value that you build today that will fetch money tomorrow. And don't do it the other way around, because like you said, you might be moving too fast in the wrong direction. So thank you so much for sharing that. This next question, me, I'm interested, because a lot of us think
Now
HR
scared.
is just to interview people and fire people. So that's their job. It's just to be reporting people, looking for people they want to fire, and interviewing people. So now that we have you on the hot seat, tell us, what does your typical day look like as the head of people and culture in a tech
Hmm.
organization? Walk us through what you do, what your day looks like, what sort of activities.
That's a good question. I don't have a typical day. I don't have a typical day. For example, I can tell you what my last maybe 48 hours has looked like, just to
Okay.
share. And then I'll share maybe an average typical day. So past 48 hours, we had a vendor no, a client we want to work with, and they asked for all of these policies. About 9 of them. And I work in a startup. We don't have those policies. And so we told them, oh, we have them. We share them in 48 hours. So I've been working on designing, creating these policies, organizational wide.
Mm,
And not just, they are not HR policies, by the way. We are talking anti-money laundering policy. We're talking AI governance. In short, I didn't even know we needed to have AI governance policy. But as head of people and culture, anything policy kind of falls in my bracket. So I
yeah.
just had to pick it up and get it done. So back to what a typical day in my life would look like. It will be people focused. So I could have recruitment work done that I needed to do, maybe interviews, as you mentioned. I also have a lot of employee advisory. I call it employee advisory because I see myself as a consultant in my organization. So you have people that have messaged me on Slack to say, TJ, I would like to talk to you about so so and so. I book all of those meetings in my calendar so that I don't miss them
Yeah.
and prepare for them as much as I can. But people coming in to talk about their career, someone can say, well, I want to leave customer service. What can I do? I'm tired. I've been in customer service for 3 years. How
Mm,
do I move out of here? So take them through career path options so I can have those conversations. Of course, there's conflict resolution as well. People having grievances, you have to be able to sort that out. And also from the management or co-founder perspective, you can have just general people issues. So for example, this year in my team, we've been having culture alignment. We have a culture alignment project. So we realized that some of our A, A-list staff members were becoming a bit comfortable. And we also saw that one of our values, I will not mention which, was not being seen as it used to be. So I decided to have a whole cultural alignment project where I created a cross-functional team from different teams and different cadres. I made sure that the managers were not in these teams, so just normal staff members. We talked about our culture, what it means for us to have each of these values, and just really take people through that process. And now they own the culture, they become culture champions. So that kind of project, I also would add that and just be facilitate that as well.
yeah.
There's usually one or two reports to work on in terms of maybe monthly reporting, management reporting, investor reporting, because I'm a
Mm,
startup. So we're a startup, so we have to report to the investor. So my work is really, it ranges from administrative to operational to strategic. What I do is just make sure that I allocate enough time to each of these three branches. For HR, if you dwell on the operational work, which is the hiring and the firing, in my opinion, you will never be able to prove the value of through
Mm.
strategic thinking. So you need to look at what your activities look like. If they look very operational and there's nothing strategic in it, you need to rejig what you're doing and how you're showing up in your organization. And that's why a lot of HR people have bad rep, because you're focusing so much on the hiring and the firing. And I don't know why you're reporting people up and down. I know compliance is part of it, but anyway, whatever. Just focus on the strategy. So my point here is my day is from administrative, I'm talking letters, employment
Yeah.
letters, I have to sign letters, to operational, we are recruiting, we're hiring, performance appraisal, and then to strategic, where we talk about culture work, satisfaction surveys, analyzing data, you know, just doing stuff, learning and development stuff. So it varies, but I'll just, to any HR person, be more strategic, focused, so that the value you bring to the table and even to your staff, you're helping them. Compliance is important, but you're helping them. With compliance is hard because people will be people, and that's why they say, well, HR is always about rules and policies and all. But I tell people there's a spirit behind the policy. If you are able to get people to buy in into the spirit behind the policy, compliance will be a little bit easier. Let me
Yes.
explain. So in organizations where you have to be in the office by 8 o'clock, and I don't know if people still, do they still track those things down? In my organization, we don't really do that
Don't
anymore.
track in my organization. No,
Do they track it?
no, no, no.
Do you
I
know that some
mean,
organizations that
I
they still
mean,
track it,
once you
like,
badge,
right?
it takes record. So in finance, we're supposed to come into the office 3 times a week.
Got
So
it.
once I badge in, it's
Right.
recorded somewhere, right?
Okay.
But they're not checking, did you come at 7 or did you come at 8? Did you leave at 2 or anything like that?
We have some organizations that they do it, and HR people are the ones that be like, you didn't come at 8, so we deduct 10,000 naira from your salary. I feel like if you're able to explain the spirit behind the policy, to say if you come in early, it will it's a good thing, because you coming in late affects everybody. If you have a meeting and you're not there, you're bringing it, just explain to them again. I really, people are people. People are people. So rules and regulations are critical. But I feel like if HR professionals are able to get the buy-in of staff, explaining the spirit behind the policies to them, there will be more buy-in and will not be seen as iron and fire, as they like to call us.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I think, in fact, having this conversation with you is making me appreciate my HR people more. Let them not hear
Please,
that I said so.
why? Appreciate them on my behalf, please.
So, what sort of technical, I think you've spoken about this a little bit, but what sort of technical and soft skills are important to succeed in this HR career path?
Emotional intelligence, number one.
Mm,
Very critical. You have to have very high emotional intelligence quotients. You need to, number one, be self-aware. It starts with that self-awareness. And for me, self-awareness is what I know and what I don't know. You need to know yourself very well. You need to know how to respond to people and not react to people, because you're in the business of people. A lot of people would misbehave. Everybody will do it at some point. And you, as an HR person, you must be professional enough to be able to respond, which means you must prepare your response to all the scenarios that can come up. Right. So you need to do that. So emotional intelligence, how to speak to people, that's very important. Number two is communication skills. Not communication in terms of speaking well, eloquently, which is part of it, but communication in terms of getting your point across in a professional way, in a very clear way, without emotions attached. Because HR people are usually women, they are usually emotional, and so that really affects the way they show up if they are not
right.
well trained. And that's why you see HR people not well liked, because they've mixed emotions with work. Right. So as an HR person, you must be very good in communicating, but written communication in your email, you have to be mindful of the tone. When you get email from HR, What did they write again? But there are ways you can send this communication if you train yourself enough that people would relate and react positively to your emails. And also the way you speak. So you want to, we are usually bearer of bad news. Just this week, I had to tell someone that we are going to be letting her go by the end of the month. I did not send an email and say, dear, so, so, and so. I
Mm.
will always call you first. No matter you, my email is always after a conversation. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
it kind of softens you. So you call the person, oh, I need to talk to you. Let's have a meeting, check in, have a conversation. This is what is happening, and this is what we need to do for the business whether they like it or not, but at least try and communicate professionally and clearly. And it takes training. It's not something you feel I can do it. You have to train yourself consistently to be able to do it. So I've talked about emotional intelligence, I've talked about communication, and of course, leadership. I think leadership weaves into it, but I will still take
Yeah.
leadership as another skill that you need to have the ability to influence people to do towards a particular goal. That's what leadership is. It's not
Yes.
bullying, it's not shouting, it's not forcing people, is influencing, negotiating, obtaining the buy-in of people in whatever project you're working on. For example, performance appraisal time is almost the worst time for HR people because nobody wants to do performance appraisal. You're laughing because it's possible that you're part of the people. I don't want to do performance appraisal. And they're saying to you, message, hi, Ramide, you've not done your appraisal for your team. You've not. I beg, you guys are in plenty forms. But you need to be able to influence people. It's influence that will make people listen to you. It's not going to be because of your role as HR. It's going to be because of who you are as a person.
Right.
You understand? You have to be who you are as a person, how you treat people, the trust that people have in you. One of my CEOs usually says that relationship is about withdrawal and deposits. If you don't deposit into people, you can't
There's
withdraw
nothing
from them.
to withdraw.
When you need them to do stuff, is when you want to withdraw. But how have you deposited in them? Do you care for them? I'm not saying it should be everybody's friend. I don't even think HR and friendship should be. But there are ways you can be very professional, very articulate, but also very kind to people that they would respect you for who you are. So leadership comes with all of that, just gaining the respect of people, being able to influence people positively, help them to see the vision of where you're going and so that you can get their buying. So those three things, maybe the last thing would then be excellence. As an HR person, you have to be excellent. You have to show up well because you are the standard of behavior. You are all, see, don't ever forget that. You might think people don't notice, but people do notice.
You do.
Let me share two examples with you. Where I currently work, when I came in, people used to, it was, tech, laid back dressing. It was just normal. And the first day I got it, I wore a dress. I looked weird wearing it, like, I wore a dress, I wore heels, everything. So I was like, what do I do about this? And just all people were wearing Crocs to the office. Crocs. I was like, yes, it's tech, but it doesn't have to be Crocs. No, we can't do Crocs. So I was intentional about my dressing. Do you know that maybe 6, 7 months down the line, I would hear people say, TG, the way you showed up, we started showing up. And I saw
Mm.
that because I was the standard of behavior. And so as an HR person, you have to be careful of how you show up, how you speak, the things you do. If you have a rule and you're the one flouting the rule, no one is you don't have the right to then penalize someone else for it because they will remind you that you were the one. You also did not do it. So you're a standard of behavior. So excellence across board is very important. And when you see, and that is okay, let me say this. In terms of excellence, one other rule I have is you don't have to be nice, but you have to be kind.
Mm.
There's a difference. I'm sure a lot of
Yes.
people know this, right? They know the difference. Being nice is, Ramide, I like your dress, which is also good. Ramide. But if doing something wrong, I don't want Ramide to feel bad. I won't tell her. That's
Yeah.
being nice. But me being kind is, Ramide, you look so good today. I need to talk to you. There was something you did 2 days ago. I don't think it's really good. You can do it this way going forward.
Yeah.
That is me being kind because I'm not, and this is not an HR matter. This is not, I've noted it down in your
Mm.
file, strike two. No, it's just you giving feedback at the right time when you're supposed to give feedback. So excellence, and so I've mentioned three things: emotional intelligence, leadership, And of course, excellence, which is really critical in HR work.
Thank you so much. I mean, from hearing your story, you've already talked about some challenges that you faced, but I want us to just dive into that and talk more
Okay.
about that a bit.
All right.
So, can you walk us through some challenges you faced in your career? Because one thing I don't want people to take away from this conversation is that it's just going to be smooth, everything will just fall in place. From my own career journey, I know that careers are not linear. Careers are ebbs and
Yeah.
lows, highs,
Guys,
dips, highs and
yeah.
lows. And so I think it's really important that we talk about challenges. So tell us some challenges
Mm.
that you faced and how you were able to overcome them.
Okay, the first is lack of mentorship. It might not be anybody's story, but this is my story. I I lacked mentorship for a very long time. I wasn't able to say, oh, this is someone that, can mentor me, that was interested in my career as a person until maybe 7 years ago or 8 years ago. Yes. So everything I've had to learn, I've had to do it by myself, and it was exhausting. If I had a mentor, I'm sure that could have affected my career a bit more positively, and I would have grown a bit faster. But yeah, lack of mentorship was a challenge. But how did I? So number one, I knew that okay, this is a challenge. I don't have anybody that I can mentor. Maybe a fault of mine as well. Maybe I didn't do much work to get a
Mhm.
mentor myself. I didn't know how to even go about it. I know growing up in the early times of our career, we had a lot of toxic bosses, and yeah, like I beg, I don't even want you to just leave me alone. I don't want you to mentor me. So I didn't really have like great examples of leaders. So that was a problem. I was watching YouTube videos. I would read books. I will speak to my fellow HR professionals. We are all in the same category. I'll say, how are you guys doing it to your office? And literally, I was peer mentored. I was peer mentored growing in my career. So that was a challenge. The second is because I've worked in small businesses, SMEs, I'm usually often maybe the only HR person, or maybe we're just two or three. And HR was just never taken seriously. Never. He just, and of course, I'll have HR manager and I'll be looking at, they will just dismiss, they'll have meeting, they will not call her. And I'll be the one asking, Ma, why are you not in this meeting? Like, they didn't invite me. I don't understand. It used to get me upset. Now they're not calling you. Then they will not come with memo. HR action points. Do this. Hire this person. Fire this person. What is this? It just used to upset me. And so I started to look at that strategic aspect of human resources. I went back to my book, my notes during masters, and I started to do some things, or not me do, but at least let my managers then know, keep them can do this, and we started to be taken seriously. And then maybe not enough pay.
We will be talking to HR about that.
So for HR
You guys
people,
are the
right,
cause.
we are not the cause. So the thing is, for
You
other
guys are the
roles,
ones that are not making them pay us big money.
for other roles, because of the value, the direct value to the bottom, they get promotion faster than HR people. We are the ones that we affect the promotion. Oh. We complain. I'll say, God, am I a goat? This person is getting promotion again. Am I an orphan? What did I do to deserve it? I feel like we didn't quickly get on the train of articulating our value. And so we usually don't get paid as much as those in fact, you guys in account, you see, sales, accounting, marketing. God, I used to beat you guys. You guys are always getting paid because you're very obvious to you're right there. You're presenting the numbers. You guys are doing all of this report and the audit, and then the auditor will come, board will sign the audit, fantastic report
Mm.
for HR. Just one line. Do you understand? So compensation wasn't great. It's been a challenge. But one thing I found to combat that is to continue to be valuable. So improve on yourself. One thing that have helped me is apart from my core job, I have consulting opportunities that come my way. And it comes from conversations with people like you. Anybody, you just be conversing with them. I always do pro bono consulting. People, TJ, I want to talk to you. I'm like, what is it again? So there's this issue in my organization. What do we do? I'll provide advice because of my experience. Sometimes I'll tell them, give me 24 hours, give me 48 hours. Let me go and think about this or do some research. I can come back to you with a few documents and you'll be like, TJ, it's not that deep, oh, but I'll take it so seriously because I just want to help you solve the problem.
Yeah.
And from there, okay, come and help us set up HR department, come help us do this, come speak at this place, come help us with this, come look at this document we're having issues with. How do we implement it? A lot of them would have engaged consultants come and do this work. They will drop 50 pages of documents, no way to implement. And then I can help with the implementation. So yeah, just being valuable and of course continue to prove yourself to your organization and speak up. I don't
Yeah.
know why HR people don't like to speak up. It's interesting. Do you know?
I mean, I've had my own fair share of experiences with HR people. And I think they feel close to management. They don't want to rock the boat. Maybe they feel like, oh, we are the next layer of management. So we don't want to be seen as the ones rocking the boat or the ones complaining. So they just go with the flow. For me, like that, those are some of the things I
That's what you
see.
think. Yes, it's a problem. I think it's because there's some fear in, of course, not rocking the boat. There's also that fear of, do they really see the work I do? And which goes back to what I said about articulating your value always. Always articulate your value. Always articulate your value. Even if the money is not available because you know how much, they usually tell you, we don't have the money for this. You let them know that you know that I'm not supposed to be on this level because of one, two, three, four, five. And when you listen to all of these mentors, they'll tell you always document your achievements, always document your wins. And when you do something great for the organization, you'll be like, I'm doing this, right? So when it's time to have a conversation about my pay, we are going to have it, right? So
Yes.
it's just that courage and that confidence. I think the final issue I see is the imbalance between is HR management or HR staff. We have that issue. And global standards will say HR is 51% management, 49% staff. So you're tilted a little bit, and that's just what it is. But people will be like, no, you're supposed to be our champion. We're supposed to carry placard together. You're supposed to speak on behalf of the people. Yes. We try to do that, but also we also wear the business hat. And any HR person that is not wearing the business hat, you're not valuable. You're not going to add value to the organization because you must understand things from the organization's perspective, but also have the balance of the people's desires in the mind of people and be able to fight for people. And to be honest, a lot of HR people do that behind closed doors. But you
Behind.
guys will never know.
But we don't see. So, as
It's
in,
not.
you people are supporting management.
It's really a hard
Yes,
place.
I
I won't
can
lie to
imagine.
you. It's really a hard place, but you have to do your best with data. So, say for example, learning budget. Everybody wants to go to all this fancy LBS. This one, the organization doesn't have money for it. There's a way that you have to find a way to convince management, of course, with wisdom, but convince them. We can do it in a layered way. Maybe one person from each team will first do. They'll come back and do knowledge sharing session. Instead of taking 5 people to LBS, let 2 people go. Come back and do knowledge sharing session for everybody. Do your training evaluations immediately after the training, 1 week after the training, 1 month after the training, 3 months after the training. Provide that data in a report. Track performance improvement. When you're asking for money for learning again, you can increase it a little bit based on that data. Now, the work that is required in doing all these training evaluations, a lot of HR people may not have the time or cannot just think about it because it's a lot stressful. But you don't know that that work that you think is stressful is what will
It's
help you.
what?
Because management is numbers, naira and kobo. Why do I need to spend 5 million again on training? Is because show me the last training. If you
And
have
how
that
it's.
data and say, I can actually show you the return on investment, they'll be like, oh, okay. Okay, we can do 2 people or we can do 3 people instead of 5 people. That's how you show value. So yeah, those are
Thank you so much, TJ. I liked what you said about mentorship because I've heard so many things. I've read so many things online. People are like, "Oh, in this day of YouTube, you can just go on YouTube and get the mentorship. In this day of AI, you can just chat to your AI tool, and it will tell you what to do." But I like what you said about face to face mentorship. I liked what you said about top down mentorship, wisdom coming from someone who has walked the journey and
Yes.
passing that down to you. The place cannot be overemphasized,
No,
and no matter how
right.
many books you read, no matter how many of your peers you speak to, no matter how many AI prompts you put in the tool, you still need someone who has been there, done that, to
Yes.
hold your hand and walk you through. um I also feel like I didn't get into mentorship. I didn't get into mentorship
Early.
enough, because I remember
Mm,
that I went on secondment to the US with KPMG. And
mm,
if I had a mentor while I was in the US, I think my journey may have been different. I mean, we thank God for where we are,
mm.
but that
Talk
doesn't,
about that a little bit.
my journey would have been different if I had a
Mm.
mentor. My mentor would have told me what to do, what not to do, understanding culture fit as a Nigerian coming into the US, different things that a mentor could have added value to me. But me, I
Mm.
just went to the US to Nigerian in the US. Badass. And maybe I'll share that story one day. But
Yeah,
yeah,
you
the
should.
place
I'd
of
like to hear
mentorship
that.
cannot be overemphasized.
Yeah.
I also like that you talked about HR in the SME space, because I feel like that's one of the biggest challenges we have in Nigeria,
Mm.
is that because a number of businesses in this country are informal SMEs. They don't take all these things seriously. I mean, I was talking to a colleague, former colleague of mine recently, and she was telling me about a very big company, like a fintech that's popular. And she
Mm.
was telling me about how they didn't have proper accounting systems, and things are just upside down. They're still doing things on Excel. And I was just like, no way,
Oh.
but that's because a lot of SMEs don't place value on these things. A lot of small organizations don't place value. They are more interested in, let me just go and bring money, let me sell the products, right? Without thinking about, how do we develop the people? How do we train the people? And that's why you see a lot of young people want to start their careers in Big Four, because everybody reads about the kind of training you get and all that.
Yeah.
So maybe an idea, I'm sure you're already working on that, but there's a lot of opportunities there. And it doesn't have to be expensive, because sometimes they're always
100%.
running away from cost. They don't want to spend too much money, so they do the barest minimum. But that has impact not just on the people, but also on how the businesses can scale,
Yes,
right?
let
So
me I can just speak to that a little bit to help any SME CEO that might watch this or someone in management. As Aramide said, it doesn't have to be expensive. I've worked with a lot of small businesses in setting up structures for their human resources and admin functions. And you don't need, you just need maybe one or two people in those functions. As far as the setup has been done, there's training that's been done. From there, they can just it becomes like consultative, that kind of thing. And you can do it gradually. So you don't have to do all the HR processes at once. You want to have a recruitment framework, you want to have a performance appraisal framework. Performance appraisal, you don't need all of the softwares at first. Performance appraisal can start on Excel. Just have the forms on Excel, have the formulas locked in. Just it's easy before you then graduate to all of these softwares. It's not as hard as it is, but you want to build your company on structures because companies have life cycle. You have the startup, then you have that growth. It's a curve. When you
yeah.
have that growth, you need to have structures to maintain it. If not, it will come back to startup level. And the way your human resources or your systems should be in the startup, startup life will not sustain the growth
Yeah,
phase
the growth
of your
phase.
business. If you want your business to actually attain that peak and continue to evolve, you need structures and systems. And you don't want you want to conserve institutional knowledge. You don't want it to go away with people. And with startups, there's high attrition, right? So if you want to conserve institutional knowledge, you need to have documentation processes in place. You know, and don't let me start consulting now, but yes, it's
Anyway,
really
if you
important.
guys want to book TJ, our LinkedIn bio will be in the description. You can reach out to her. She's not free, it's
It's
not,
not pro bono.
but I think it's really important, and I think it's value that you should definitely spend to move your company to where you want it to be.
Yes.
So, HR. has evolved over the years. I mean, I work
Yes.
at Microsoft, and the way HR is, there's comp and ben, there's learning and development, there's payroll, so many teams within HR,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
How do you see HR evolving over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a good question. Really, this one is deep. But I would answer, I feel like specialties in HR will continue, but it will decline. These are my thoughts.
Mm,
HR has specialties, comp and ben, recruitment, but there are tools that can do this. Snap of a finger. So with comp and ben, it's before it used to be a whole team in terms of all of the compensation, salary structure, benchmarking. Claude will do that for you. Claude can do that for you. And it's the truth. Co-pilots, like, will help you sort it out. So you don't need as much human bodies, human beings
yes.
in all of this. So I feel like the specializations will is on a declining mode. It will decline. But what will actually add value in terms of an HR person to the bottom line is solving people problems and achieving business outcomes. And let me try and explain. If my business is supposed to make 4 billion in a year, as an HR person, it's part of my KPI to make 4 billion in a year. I need
Mm,
to shift that mindset. My job is not to have all of these 6 point strategic agendas on what we're
mm,
going to be doing. That's English. The everything I'm doing must be towards that 4 billion in a year. So you are showing management that my HR strategy is aligned with the company strategy. So my
right.
overarching goal is 4 billion. Start from there. Then
How?
attracting talent, developing talent. So for example, developing talent, what skills do we need in this company this year
To
to
help
make my
us.
salespeople, my marketing people,
Mm,
operational effectiveness to attain that 4 billion? So 4 billion is customer acquisition, revenue generation, customer retention, and then cost cutting measures. This is just me off my head. Fourth,
yes.
and I'm like, okay, we need these skills. So, what skills do I need for customer acquisition? What skills do I need for revenue generation? And so, my L&D training will be focused on those four things.
Right.
You understand? So, my
Yes.
goal is not my HR fancy HR English. It is 4 billion this year. Everything I'm doing is towards that. I feel like for HR to be preserved, our focus is business outcomes. So as an HR person, you don't want to just use AI to make your things fancy. You want to critique your ideas. Use AI to
Mm,
critique your ideas, to ensure that your people are solving business problems. And that's the simplest way. I don't know how else to put it. That's the simplest way to put it. That is what will preserve the HR profession as we evolve. Because a lot of things that we used to do before can be done in 2 minutes
yeah.
now with artificial intelligence. But real business outcomes is important. And I would also go to what I said, that you have to be business oriented. So you need to be an accountant. So, see, I talked about customer acquisition, marketing and comms, all of those things. You have to be, that has to be your business. You need to learn it. You can't leave it to your head of marketing. You need to
Mm,
understand what they're doing. For example, last year, I started to have meetings every month. I have meetings with my marketing and comms because I need to attract talent. And our social media platforms need to be positioned in a way that I can attract talent. So I'm involved in your marketing activities. So you can do your work, but my work too is your work. So we need to do
mm,
it together. So I needed to learn how those metrics, all those vanity something, how many likes, how many. I didn't know all of that before, but I had
wow.
to because I started thinking, what can we do? We do day in the life. I started become bringing out content ideas, and now when I'm on Instagram, I see content that I'll send it to my marketing people. I think we should do this because it's for me, because business outcomes, I need to attract the right talent to be able to achieve business outcomes. So that's the mindset an HR person should have, and that's where we are going. We need to be able to make naira and dollars and pounds for the business, and not just become a cost center. Yeah.
I love that. Honestly, I really love what you said. And for me, it's also a mindset shift as I think about my role, the
Hmm.
role that my role in my organization. And I think that is beyond just HR. Everybody should be thinking about business outcomes, thinking about the bottom line in everything that they do, because that's what sustains the organization at the end of the day. So I
Yes.
really love that. My next question is about AI. You've
Ah,
touched it a bit. You've touched on it a bit.
right.
Um, what do you think the impact of AI will be on the profession? I know you've talked a lot. You've talked a bit about that. There are so many fears out there in terms of AI is going to come and take our jobs. I was in a hackathon last year. We usually have hackathons at Microsoft. And
Okay.
one of the solutions that was designed was like an HR in a box kind of agent.
Mm,
Essentially, an HR agent that helps employees on board once they get into the organization. And I
fantastic.
thought it was fantastic. But I still think we need people, maybe not as many bodies like you said, but I still think that we need people. So, what do you think?
So AI is anyone that is not using AI, I don't know what they are doing with their lives. And I'm saying this very confidently because Aramide, that there's some sort of stigma against people that use AI.
Yes,
Have you know people like, oh, this is AI, this is AI. I'm like, okay. So why are you beefing AI now? Because it has come to stay.
exactly.
Take it or leave it. Engineers are coding with AI. You can build a whole software, a
Mm,
whole go to market strategy software with AI,
wow.
and you're beefing AI. Engineers are coding with AI. So number one, it has come to stay. That's number one. Number two, in the HR profession, I feel like what I use AI for, I use it to generate ideas and I use it to critique my ideas. A lot of people don't
Yes.
critique their own ideas.
Mm,
The kind of prompts you put into AI, when I prompt AI, is a whole document. The AI will take time to even read my document. My prompt is a whole document. This is my concept. This is my thought. These are my ideas. This is my strategy. Da, 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 da. Critique it first. Ask it to review. Critique my thoughts, and you'll be surprised what comes out. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I start to think, how do I tailor make this for my
mm,
organization? So, or for whatever project I'm working on. AI has come to stay. It's not a replacement of the use of your brain. No, it should not be a replacement. It should be just garbage in, garbage out. I feel like it's used as a consultant.
mm,
It's like an assistant. If if
yes.
if I may use that. It increases operational efficiency. It you use it well, it increases your efficiency, your effectiveness if you use it well. So will it take some people's jobs? Yes, because we don't need that much people. But the value of human resources is still in the experience. There's something I call the wisdom of time. There's
Mm,
there's a wisdom of time that when you experience when you're an experienced professional that you bring into your approach of your
yes.
work. You know, if a 2 years, 0 to 2 years person in experience accounting or something stands beside a 7 to 9 years experience, then you can't, it's a difference. There's a difference. So whether two is using AI so much that everything is looking fantastic, but when it comes to implementation, how do you deal with the people? How do you make them do everything you want them to do that is so glossy on paper? It takes experience to do that.
Yes.
AI won't do that for you. AI will not obtain buy-in on policies for you. AI will tell you you can do it this way, but in actually doing it, you need human beings to do it for you. So you
Right.
need to obtain buy-in. You need to solve. If two people are having conflict in the organization, what AI is going to help us to solve that conflict? How do I say I don't know. They come to you and say, oh, I'm having issues. I don't want to talk to this person anymore. I want her off my team. How do you solve that with AI? Okay. Yeah,
You
laughing.
send them a prompt.
I say, put this in AI and let please don't let me laugh. Anyway, so it has come to stay, but the way it's being used, it should be used as a tool, as an assistant, like a consultative assistant, not someone that is just going to come and replace our jobs. But as I said, the profession is evolving. AI is part of the reason why it's evolving. The specialties will diminish over a period of time, but I think it will diminish because tools can get that done. But yeah, AI should be used as an assistant.
Wow, what a conversation we've had today. And we're coming to the end of it. And there's an accountant or somebody whose father or mother forced them to study accounting. I remember some time ago, a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, wanted me to speak to our younger brother who was studying accounting, but the guy wanted to be a gamer. The guy likes to develop games, and his
I love that.
father wanted him to be an accountant, go and do ICANN and everything. And I was just like, she thought I would just tell him, like, oh, go and do ICANN. And I was just like, the accounting degree he has is a pathway to many other things. It can be whatever he wants to be. If he wants to go and learn how to code and develop this gaming thing, it's okay, you know.
Mm,
So someone is watching and they are almost finishing school, they're almost finishing their undergraduate degree, and they like people related stuff, but they're not quite sure, how to get into this field. They want to walk in the path you've walked. What
mm.
would you be your advice to aspiring accountants who are considering the route that you have taken?
Thank you for that. The first would be to do your research about this role that you want in this job, expose yourself very widely. Number two is follow people that have done this before. You don't want your LinkedIn for the people you follow on LinkedIn to just be accounting, and it has to be the people that you want, the people that have walked the path. So
Mm.
follow a lot of HR people, monitor what they do, attend HR conferences if you can, because I know you're still you don't have that much money to be paying all of this for all of these big tier conferences, but whatever it is you can find, do the work. You have the resources. The third I'll say is start your certification journey. So you want to do CIPM, it's Nigeria, it's the syllabus is now. I think it's a really good syllabus. It's getting much better. You want to do that. If you can afford to have the international ones, we have PHRI, you have SHRM. CIPD is a bit pricey. That's the UK body of professional HR professionals. But you want to start your certification journey very early so that you are exposed to this, to the profession, your people walking the same path as you, because you'll be surprised when you are studying together for exams, you meet somebody that they have a role somewhere that you can apply, you just network, and then that really is you. So start your certification journey early. And then I tell people that want to switch careers or want to get into this career, let your family and friends know that this is what you want to do. So for me, people thought I wanted to be an accountant. And so all the opportunities that came my way was accounting job. But I was too afraid to tell people, me, accounting. Sorry, I'm speaking Yoruba, like accounting is not my destiny. I want to do something else. But I tell people, like when I mentor people and consult and be like, I want to switch to HR. So I'm like, how many of your siblings know that this is what you want to do? I've not told them. Okay, so how
Oh,
church
they
in church, you call what of your mosque? What of your family friends? Your neighbor? Do they know you're looking for in HR? They don't know. So how do you intend to find this job? They don't tell people. You're just on LinkedIn applying for roles that you don't even qualify for. And when maybe it's one AI tool that takes a look at your CV, you just take your CV to decide "Okay, this one doesn't have the role." But referrals happen. The best way
yeah.
to fill roles is through referrals. So let people, your family, your friends know that this is what you want to do now. For someone, like for example, they're talking about in gaming, I wanted to do gaming. Now that you know about it, imagine you're just on Instagram or something and you see something, you're like, oh, this guy that wants to do gaming, let me send him the link. That's it.
Yes.
Do you understand? So
Mm-hmm.
let people around you know that this is what I'm doing now. Your family, your siblings, your spouse, your church members, your mosque members. Let them know that this is what I want to do now and spread the word. Referrals still work, is the best way to fill roles. So if you want to change career, do your research, start your certification journey early, follow the right people, and speak to family and friends about it. And pray. Let's add that
Yes,
one.
so and
And pray.
seek early mentorship. Okay, you should follow
Yes.
the right people.
Follow the right people. But a lot don't know how to approach potential mentors.
Maybe that's conversation for another time.
That is it. I think you should. You should.
Anyway, thank you so much, TJ. I've really
Um,
enjoyed our conversation, and you've given me definitely more deeper insights about the work of human resources beyond just hiring and firing. And I'm sure that someone watching this episode will find it valuable. If you
Mm,
guys want to reach out to TJ, her LinkedIn bio will be in the description. Feel free to ping her, not just to ask questions. If you're an SME, a startup looking for someone to help you set up your HR team, TJ is the right person to reach out to, and I'm sure she'll be available to support you. Thank you again, TJ. I've had
thank
a
you,
great
Emily.
time speaking with you on this episode.
Thank you.
We'll connect on the WhatsApp. But thank you so much for
Yes, we
coming.
will. But
Thank
before I
you.
go, I want to say this. Thank you so much for putting this together. This is this is CSR. This
Mm,
is back to the young people, to the community. A lot of people don't have this information. You will just assume that they should know, but they really don't. And when
yes.
you reached out to me, I was like, this is so good. We need to do this to help people. And thank you for taking out the time. This is you just using your time, your resources, everything to do this. And I really admire that. So thank you. And it's been a privilege going back to the memory lane and having this conversation with you. Thank you. And well done.
Thank you, TJ. Thank you so much. We shall see you around.
Yes, we will. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.